Everything that is explained in this video is summarized from CoinMarketCap. And also, please don't forget to support my channel for more XRP updates and some other cryptocurrencies as a whole. Now take a look at this. XRP Ripple battle with SEC settlement updates, appeals, and Judge Torres final verdict timeline. The CSE and Ripple. The long-running case against XRP is expected to be resolved very soon, according to experts, as the final verdict imposed by Judge Torres could be issued this year, most likely in September. Today, May 6th, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is scheduled to submit its final response in the remedies phase of the investigation. The roughly $2 billion in disgorgement, prejudgment interest, and civil penalty that the SEC imposed was met with opposition from Ripple. It is Ripple contention that the corporation is only subject to a fine that does not exceed $10 million. Ashley Prosper, an expert on the XRP lawsuit. I stated that the last statement from the SEC during the SEC during the remedies phase is extremely important for the Ripple v. SEC case. This is because the parties might potentially confer on potential fines for XRP institutional sales and divulge conditions of potential settlement. In the litigation between Ripple and the SEC, experts anticipate a settlement, and they anticipate that Judge Torres will issue his final verdict in September. As a result, the price of XRP can experience a surge. In September, the final decision from Judge Torres is anticipated. The final decision that Judge Torres will make in the litigation between Ripple and the SEC could be handed down this year, most likely in September, according to analysts. Ripple has objected to almost $2 billion in disgorgement, prejudgment interest, and civil penalty that the SEC has proposed. This comes at a time when Ripple and the SEC are in the proceeding known as the remedies phase. It is Ripple contention that the corporation is only subject to a fine that does not exceed $10 million. The Ripple vs. SEC lawsuit is likely to settle. According to Ashley Prosper, an expert on the XRP lawsuit, the final response that the SEC provides during the remedies phase is extremely important for the Ripple v. SEC case. The parties can discuss the possibility of fines applicable to institutional sales of XRP and disclose the details of a prospective settlement. As a result, the case can be extended until June. On the other hand, it is anticipated that a final verdict will be issued within 60 to 90 days of the conclusion of the last brief, which is a far faster time frame than the rulings that were issued in summary judgment. Several experts have asserted that the lengthy XRP litigation is going to be resolved very soon. This is because Judge Torres' final ruling is expected to be issued this year, most likely starting in September. The dispute between the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and Ripple Labs will continue as it is presently in the remedies phase until an appeal and resolution are imminent. Today, May 6th, the Securities and Exchange Commission will present its final response in the remedies phase of the investigation. The roughly $2 billion in disgorgement, prejudgment interest, and civil penalty that the SEC imposed was met with opposition from Ripple. In its defense, Ripple asserts that the company is only subject to a fine that does not exceed $10 million. An expert agrees that Ripple and the SEC will soon reach a settlement. Ashley Prosper, an expert on the XRP lawsuit, stated that the last statement from the SEC during the remedies phase is extremely important for the Ripple v. SEC case. This is because the parties might potentially confer on potential fines for XRP institutional sales and divulge conditions of a potential settlement. In the files, the parties and third parties are required to submit letter motions in opposition related to sealing information by the 20th of May. This is placed after the reply briefs have been submitted. This might very well bring the litigation up to June. After the final brief, XRP attorneys anticipated that a final finding would be issued within 60 to 90 days, which would be a significant amount of time faster than the rulings on the summary judgment. Along the same lines, Ashley Prosper asserts that the XRP community will have to wait until July or August, or perhaps September, for the final verdict that Judge Torres will issue. Would an appeal and a settlement be possible? When it comes to the XRP litigation, Ripple and the SEC are most likely to appeal verdicts and motions that were unsuccessful. A summary judgment ruling on XR programmatic sales will be appealed by the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC. The motions that the SEC won in the complaint will be appealed by Ripple. On the other hand, in addition, Ripple can file an appeal if the sanctions are determined to be more severe and not for Ripple's reasons. For disgorgement, the corporation contends that the accusation made by the SEC that institutional investors experience financial harm is not strong enough. I am looking forward to seeing what the SEC says in its reply brief about Ripple's argument that the permanent injunction should not be granted, or if granted, should be restricted, said Attorney Bill Morgan. I am looking forward to seeing what the SEC goes to in its reply brief rather than the amount of money that Ripple is required to pay. He believes that the injunction is more important. Yeah, a great deal of conjecture has been generated by the SEC's decision to permanently halt Ripple sales to HODL customers. Following Judge Torres' final decision, the parties may settle with one another, most likely to avoid the possibility of an appeal. According to Ashley Prosper, it can take place at any point between now and any prospective verdict from an appellate court. Ripple's most recent filing, which took place on April 22, will be followed by the SEC's submission of its reply brief on May 6. As part of its brief, Ripple responded to the claims made by the SEC. A participant in the XRP market named Ashley Prosper offers her thoughts on the potential consequences of the ongoing legal struggle. In the ongoing legal struggle with Ripple, the Securities and Exchange Commission is about to submit its rebuttal brief. This article digs into the specifics of the case and makes some generalizations about the consequences that could occur. Reply brief to be submitted by the SEC in the Ripple case, the legal dispute that has been going on between Ripple Labs and the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has reached yet another threshold of significance. Following the submission of Ripple's brief on April 22, the Securities and Exchange Commission is getting ready to file its response brief on May 6. Following the opening brief that was presented by the SEC on March 22, Ripple was given an extension of the deadline for submitting its opposing brief. This new development follows the SEC's opening brief. Defending Ripple against the SEC's allegations as part of its opposition brief, Ripple responded to the expert evidence and other exhibits that were offered in the opening brief of the CC. Ripple was able to better prepare its case and respond to the claims made by the SEC thanks to the extension of the deadline, which allowed it to attempt to decrease the potential penalty. On the other hand, it is anticipated that the SEC will react to Ripple's arguments and reaffirm its position regarding the appropriate punishment for the alleged crimes inside the securities industry in its forthcoming reply brief. It was in December 2020 when the United States Securities and Exchange Commission accused Ripple of fraudulently raising over $1 billion in an unregistered securities offering by selling XRP. This was the beginning of the legal struggle between Ripple and the organization. The company is adamant that its native token should not be given the classification of a security and does not be subject to the authority of the agency. After years of arguing with each other and making little headway toward a final settlement, the dispute finally entered the trial phase last month. This comes after years of shooting shots at each other. Ripple has already achieved 3 significant partial victories before it, and some people believe that it currently have the upper hand. Even though it is still uncertain when the decision will materialize, many participants in the business have predicted that it could drag on for years due to delays from both parties and the intricacy of the legal process.